So, tell me what is the origin of Little Miss Sociopath from the short you made to the full movie? What was the process to getting it completed?
Well, the short actually is a different film.
Oh,
Little Miss Badass is a different film. That would have been too expensive to make. I have a lot of scripts. I do a lot of writing. I've got about 8 scripts.
oh wow.
And so this one seemed to be getting more attention. I was getting scripts read, and of course, everybody was promising to make them all the time. And
Right.
I was in the promised land for 20 years, but nobody did. And this one seemed to be, even though it's a really unusual script, they always seemed to like it. Um, and I had more promises for that one than anything else.
Okay.
So I kind of focused on that quite a lot. And then I can't say there was a huge plan and process because I don't really work like that. But the last time I was a director was going to get it made, and we had a table read in November 2022. I thought, oh, this is definitely it this time. So I then went on to Breakdown Services, Actors Access, and started posting for actors. And then it was so exciting doing that. I do love auditions, and I love actors, love working with actors usually, as long as they're nice. And so I sort of found a number of actors who were brilliant and could have done it. And then I also found a house in north of LA. And it's an Airbnb, and you tell them that it's for a film, obviously, because you've got to have permits. And usually they would like triple the price. Instead of 500 a day, it'd be 15. But there was a lady who the price was like 300 a day, and she said, okay, 5. And I thought, well, that's for a fabulous house with huge unlimited possibilities. I thought, well, that's great. And then the person who was going to find, so I'm all excited. And then the person who was going to finance it kind of went cold.
Oh,
And I just thought, well, I just kind of kept going. So, there wasn't a moment when I thought, oh, shall I, shan't I? I'd started doing it. So I just didn't stop, basically. So that sounds undecisive, but I'm not really an undecisive person. I suppose I subconsciously, well, I'm going to do it now anyway.
So one of the things that really struck me was the casting of Jenny Tran and Brendan Michael Coughlin as the love interests, both of whom look like a Hallmark Christmas movie meet cute couple. Was that type of look for your
Right.
lead actors intentional, or did it just come from casting Jenny and Brendan?
I didn't have anybody set in mind. I
Okay.
knew what I didn't want. And when the auditions came on, there were like, a few thousand female actors, that age group, plenty to find. So there was a lot of, I just thought, I'll know it when I see it kind of thing. And yes, you're absolutely right. The two together was probably one of the most important things of the whole film, getting that, chemistry.
Right.
And so I like the idea of a mixed couple anyway. That would be preferable if
Sure.
that's possible. But it was about the acting and the person and the people. So I then just watched everybody and it's strange how you don't really know what the chemistry is because it's a mystery to everybody, I
Sure.
think. And I know when I tried this couple out, they both look to me 20s, late 20s. Yes,
Right.
would you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but they were the only two. If if that didn't work, I didn't have anybody else for Jenny Tran. I didn't have anybody else for Brendan Coughlin because they were only together. And then when they started talking to them, she at the time was 35 and he
Oh,
was
wow.
39.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
think subconsciously, that's why she wouldn't work with a 22-year-old guy
Right.
because there would be a difference. So I think I was shocked when I heard when they said how old they were.
It's really
So
amazing.
yeah, that was you're right to pick that out, because that was a really, really tough part. They had to be good together. I thought they would when they were, yes,
Awesome.
I think they were.
So what did the rest of your cast understand about the subversiveness and perversion in the film that made it work as a statement of subversiveness and perversion?
I think they just liked it because it was funny. I don't think they went that deeply. They just thought this is hysterical, and different. And I think actors do want a different role. I mean, there's so much acting talent here in LA. It's, God, what a shame, all these talented actors. Can't I choose more? I had a lot of characters,
Right.
but yeah, they were more going for the script. It was a feature. Obviously they take all work, these actors. They like to work. They'll work in shorts, but they rarely go anywhere. And so I think I had a lot of enthusiasm because it was different and a feature. And the acting, I think all the actors I chose, I was kind of blown away with when I saw their auditions, their reel particularly. I actually put more weight on their reel than the actual audition, because if they want a lot of directing, for example, Mrs. Carter, she just loves being directed. I mean, she did a fantastic audition. Oh, there she is. I didn't know who I was looking for with Mrs. Carter. She's a little bit too young. So I thought she'd be older, but no, she didn't look like a senior. She looks younger, but she was Mrs. Carter. I knew she was straight away. So I just changed the script a bit to fit in with her, because I knew she was going to do a great job. And she just loved the role. So I think these actors, even when they've got a smaller role, they can still bring something to it, which so many of them did, and which you obviously picked up on.
What was fun about making up a movie about the darker side of our existence? What cathartic effect did you get out of it?
I seem to think that if something is funny, how dark is it? And I think that, I mean, if I'm watching a film, if I can see a flaw in a character, I'll connect to the film. If this person is all shiny and nice, I'm just struggling to connect with them. I'm flawed. I want you to be flawed. And I think people are always flawed. And so I think that would be my connection to every actor, is what is their flaw, what is wrong with them.
Okay.
They're human. We're human.
Yeah. What kind of reaction did you get from the early audiences, either from festivals or the first screenings? And why did you know you were on the right path based on their
Right. Okay. Well, actually, the first reaction I got, I mentioned a table read, and this was my first public outing for the script.
Okay.
And again, there were some great actors there, but nobody had rehearsed, nobody had been directed. They were reading, and I had an amazing organizer, and he was actually just telling actors. There were about 25 actors there, maybe 30. And he was just calling out a name and changing the character, so I could see all the actors, being this falling into the role. And that was really amazing for me, because I've got the script and I'm just watching how good they are. And I think that there was so much laughs. I mean, I was actually counting them, which is a bit sad, but it was my first table read. Sure. So there were about 90 laughs. They were laughing. And I just thought, oh yeah. And actually the director organized, the guy who was going to finance it, he organized it, and I could see him looking and noticing how much they were laughing. So I think that confirmed that this script was funny.
Great.
And I just had to execute it.
Perfect.
So that was my first experience with an audience.
Excellent. Finally, what is your future as a filmmaker? What will you take from Little Miss Sociopath that will become your next venture into the storytelling and filmmaker world?
Well, I didn't want to be a producer and director on set. I'd done that with the shorts, and it's very distracting. Your mind, everybody's got 100%. And if I've got 50% producing, which I was, I'm only directing for 50%. So I think that I saw a lot of my mistakes when I watched the film. And it was a little bit frustrating to think, oh yeah, I know what I should have done. But I was also focused on, getting the film finished, because we were always on a tight schedule, always. People were, the crew were amazing, but we were always, we were doing about 9 or 10 pages a day,
Wow.
which is a lot.
Yes.
And we had different locations, different settings. I didn't want it to look too indie. We're just staying in a room too long. So I would say I will never do that again, especially a feature. I will never be a producer and director again. I would absolutely want somebody else dealing with everything, and I can just focus on the actors. I think indie is great. I am very happy to be doing indie. I think low budget is fine. And you always get, because it's LA, you do get people who will work for nothing here to get the credit. Right. And that doesn't mean to say they're any less passionate, because they are absolutely not. So I want to make another film here, but somebody else needs to produce, not me.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2025.